In SAP Analytics Cloud, we can create a model to contain the measures and dimensions we'll use for data exploration from the main menu. In this example, we'll create a model for analytic purposes by importing transactional data from a local file. Note that we can also create models starting with a blank model or based on data from a data source or from an app. Refer to the appropriate videos for details. For a local file, we need to navigate to the appropriate CSV, XLSX, or TXT document and kick off the import process. Note that we can import data from a local file or one located on a file server if the file server is defined in the system configuration. For Excel files, we can choose which worksheet to import. For other file types, other options are available. The data is loaded as draft data. Once the file is loaded, we can access the model. Because the dataset contains more than 2,000 rows, a sample of the data is initially imported for us to work with. Any transformations we make will be applied to the full dataset when we complete the import process. Here, we can see details about the model, review any data quality issues for the sample, edit the name and description if desired, and adjust some of the other default settings, such as the default currency. Each column from the local file is now available in the new model and can be viewed either in the default table view or in the card view. In both views, columns from the dataset are rendered as measures and dimensions, with icons that identify which is which. In card view, we can also see the number of unique values for dimensions and the mean value for measures. Green bars indicate the absence of data quality issues. Any red here would flag the presence of problems that must be addressed before the model can be finalized. Depending on the contents of the source file and how the system has interpreted them, we may need to make changes to the imported data before we can save the model. For example, here the latitude and longitude columns have been identified as measures because they contain numeric values. We'll change them to dimensions. Note that when a card or column is selected, we can see additional details, such as the type and format, details about any data quality issues, and a histogram of the distribution of values. We can assign to a column one of the following types: generic dimension for dimensions that don't require special handling, measure for numeric values that are suitable for aggregation, date, which can be applied to only one dimension in a model, for date or time values used to generate a time hierarchy suitable to display in time series charts, organization, which can also be applied to only one dimension to support currency conversion and the assignment of input tasks, account for multiple measures collected into a single account structure, or version for different versions of data for forecast or budget purposes. The timestamp type is not used at this time. There are additional tasks we can perform at this point to further enrich our model, depending on our requirements. These include resolving any data quality issues, enriching time dimensions so we can visualize trends, enriching geographic dimensions so we can plot data on geomaps, and enriching other dimensions by adding attributes that define ID and description relationships or parent-child hierarchies for associated columns. These optional tasks must be completed before we save the model. Refer to the individual videos about these features for more details. Here, we've already completed these optional tasks. Now that the data has been cleansed and enriched as required, we can view the History panel to see the transformations we've applied. Note that we can delete transformations from here if desired. Now we'll validate the changes we've made to the sample against the rest of the dataset. The validation is complete. We're ready to create the model. Once the model has been created, it opens so we can make necessary adjustments. Here on the Data Sources tab, we can manage importing and updating data. If a time dimension was identified when creating the model, the settings display here. Any measures are automatically added as members of the account dimension. We can define additional properties as necessary, such as specifying the appropriate unit for the measure values, choosing an aggregation type other than the default type of sum, or working with formulas and variables to change how the measures are calculated. Each dimension also displays on a separate tab, where we can make changes such as creating hierarchies to define the relationships between members, or opening the dimension preferences to specify the users with read and write access to each member of the dimension. We can also open the model preferences to enable privacy or currency conversion. Refer to the individual videos about these features for more details. Thanks for watching.